These are trekking poles. And if you're considering getting some, or if you've been using some recently, then you're probably going to want to watch this video because there's going to be some interesting tidbits in it for you. I've done quite a bit of hiking over the years. I've done some backpacking trips in a few different countries. Some of them I have used trekking poles for, and others I have not. I began on one side of the trekking poles or no trekking poles debate, and then I finished sort of on the other side, but only in certain circumstances. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through my complete thoughts on trekking poles and when it is useful to use them. And yeah, hopefully you'll find this helpful. So if you're interested in this type of thing, I encourage you to hit the like button for me, and we'll jump in right now. So back a number of years ago, I started out as basically 100% opposed to using trekking poles for hiking and backpacking. And here's why. This was my logic. Why would I carry something that is supposed to help me walk or hike when I have to carry that thing, which makes it more difficult for me to walk or hike? So I basically just saw it as added weight that wasn't really giving me any benefit. And so I didn't use hiking poles, I didn't use trekking poles, nothing like that. And I did that for a very long time. And I did probably hundreds of miles, I don't know exactly, of hiking and backpacking without trekking poles at all. But all of this changed when I went to the Sancate Pass, which is a hike, or the Sancate Trail, which is a hike that goes in Peru, and it goes to Machu Picchu. It's not the most popular one, which is the Inca Trail. It's sort of a different one that I think goes a little bit higher in elevation. It's a little bit different in some ways. But anyway, I took this trek, and it goes way up into the mountains, over 15,000 feet in elevation. And for that trip, somebody recommended that I rent trekking poles. And with a little bit of resistance, I agreed, and I was like, okay, this might be helpful. It's pretty mountainous. I'll get the trekking poles. And so I did. I got the trekking poles, and if I had not had trekking poles for that type of terrain, which was extremely mountainous, high elevation, and we were going pretty significant amounts of elevation up and down in a given day. And so it's not just that we were high in elevation, it's that each day we were climbing or going down quite a bit. And when you have that sort of mountainous terrain and you're going up a lot or down a lot, or you're doing switchbacks and whatnot, and you're also carrying a pack that's got a few pounds in it, then or a lot of pounds in it potentially, having trekking poles makes a huge difference in helping you protect your joints and preventing injury, essentially. I don't know this for sure, this is kind of speculation, but after doing that hike, that was probably the hardest hike I've ever done. And looking back on it, I think if I hadn't had the trekking poles, I probably would have injured my joints, like something in my knee or my ankle or something like that, because especially on the downhill, when you're going down those mountains with the gear on your back, and it wasn't full gear, I had like a day pack just for reference. Yeah, it just takes a real toll on your body. And when you're like taking these big steps, there's like an impact, right? But when you have trekking poles in your hand, that allows you to balance out the impacts that your body is taking and spreading it to your hands and your arms, in addition to your legs and your knees. And also, when you're climbing and going up and down a lot, it can help you not fall down. And so by having an extra point of planting your trekking pole somewhere, that can help you from slipping. Especially, we had some time on that trail where it was pretty muddy, and we might have slipped if we didn't have a tool like this. So for mountainous terrain, for difficult terrain, for high impact hiking, trekking poles now, I definitely recommend. I would use these again for that type of hiking. And I have used them since then for somewhat mountainous, rigorous hiking. But if I was going hiking someplace where it's relatively flat, there's not a lot of elevation change, and I don't expect it to be particularly muddy, so easy hiking, if you will. If it's easy hiking, even if I'm backpacking, I don't know that I would take trekking poles. I probably would leave them home, because the extra weight that I'm going to carry, even though it's not much, is maybe not worth it to have just a little bit of added benefit of spreading that weight and that impact. And so generally, the place I land now on the trekking poles or no trekking pole debate is, here we are, I have trekking poles, I got some trekking poles, and the reason for that is because for the more strenuous elevation changing hikes, it can be really helpful. But if you're kind of doing a leisurely hike or even just a day hike, I don't think they're totally necessary, and you can leave them home. So I'll kind of leave the task of discerning how rigorous the hikes you're planning on doing is and how much of a benefit a trekking pole would be for you and your personal experience and what you're going to be doing. But in general, I would say it can be helpful, but it's not 100% essential unless you're doing something extremely rigorous. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Bye now.